brands in motorcycles, which is TVS Apache. We're taking this to an all-new level with the fastest Apache that we've ever built. Now I'll start by taking you through a short presentation on TVS Apache RTR 200. To begin with, what is the Apache RTR pedigree? If I can just take you back. The whole thing is about, we launched it sometime in 2005. The whole credo of this brand is about being performance first. This brand stands for racing. This stands for extremely track-oriented performance. It's all about something that is sensory in terms of emotive. It's as much about motorcycling as it is about the motorcycle. And no wonder it's engineered by the TVS Racing Department along with our R&D. The brand performance, just to show you a small snapshot of how we've been doing. This has been one of the best stories for us. We have been growing at a remarkable rate of around 30% when the segment is at best growing at around 5 to 7%. Also now, we are the second largest brand in the segment. Who really is the consumer for something like this? Something so extreme, something so emotive, something so isolating, but at the same time, something so rewarding. We are basically looking at somebody who we define as a racing enthusiast. It's a completely psychographic understanding of youngsters of how we look at people who enjoy this kind of riding, bike riding. What they look for, mostly they are young students and first jobbers, love motorcycling. And we realized this a while back that it's just as much as the motorcycle, it's important how the motorcycle makes you feel. So the usability, the usage also determines the kind of engineering that goes into a brand like Apache. They're passionate about technology and they're passionate about performance for sure, because we talk only to performance seekers. And of course, they're opinion leaders. Anybody in the group would go up to them and ask them which is the best bike to buy. We talk mostly to opinion leaders. In terms of expectations from their machine, in terms of first is performance, of course, the reason to exist for our brand is performance, but we define performance in a slightly different way. We don't just look at a specification of performance. We don't define performance by the peak BHP or something that it makes at maybe 10,500, 11,000 RPM, which is never going to be really of much use in 80% of the drive cycle. Because most of the drive cycle from our understanding is all about 80% in the city riding. So our bike has to give the sensory experience even in that particular circumstance. Second thing, it has to be emotive. It has to feel something when you put it in the first gear. It needs to scare you. It needs to be a bit of thrilling experience. It needs to be something that gives you a sensory experience, and that's what we really crave to engineer. You know, if we can engineer that goosebump, I think that's what we're really setting out to do here. Racing details, which again are emotive for them, and of course features which are about racing ergonomics and again diagnostics, which not many bikes offer today in the country. In terms of usable power, I touched on this. This is our view of performance. We base our product development extremely heavily on the kind of consumer understanding that we develop. We spend hours and hours together before we even get onto the product definition. And we realized when we looked at the drive cycles in India is that 80% of riding in this segment happens inside the city. So the bike has to give you that sensory experience in 80% of the situations without any compromise. Secondly, the usage determines the power and the torque graph. It is not the other way around. And finally, we define power which is RPM based. It means if you're going to ride between 2,000 to 7,000 RPM, the bike better needs to feel great in that kind of RPM range. So it's a very different view of how we look at power, which is RPM based and usage based rather than a spec based look at the power. In terms of the bike, let me not keep you guys waiting more. I would like to introduce to you with a lot of pride from our side, the Apache 200 for one. Can we have it? It's an absolutely stunning design. It's extremely evocative. It also rides in a very evocative fashion. It's meant to make you feel a sensory experience that cannot be explained in a PowerPoint or by me standing here. So I'll keep it quite short here and take you to a small AV to show you what's new in this Apache 200 for warmth. Can we have the AV, please?
It's important to get combustion chamber temperatures down, and when we have combustion chamber temperatures down, the filling of the engine is much better, the torque is much better, and that results into good acceleration. And I will explain now the details of how we have done. As you heard from Siddharth, the usable power was our focus, and power through the range, torque curve, the specifically designed torque curve for the best in class acceleration, and all this has been possible with particular cooling new technology. Then the engine response is achieved through transient tuning of the fueling system and also the airflow system. Very low inertia and low friction parts add to the feel of acceleration. So here you can see the oil flow through the oil jacket. The oil flow has been designed such a way that it takes away all the heat from combustion chamber, and you can see below the with oil jacket and without oil jacket the temperature reduction. There is a significant reduction in temperature of the whole cylinder head and combustion chamber area. Further, the whole of combustion chamber is not just cooled by only the oil, but also it is cooled by directly air coming through the ducts on the side covers of the tank. So there is a ram air effect on the spark plug and cylinder and combustion chamber, and also the air goes through the front portion, and you can see the simulation of airflow going through the oil cooler. So the almost 3 different ways of improving the cooling, and we can see the effect of that on the performance of this vehicle. So oil cooler, as you saw, get the air directly from the outside surface. So normally if you see the power curve or torque curve, and it looks like the engine power or torque is important, but in this graph, if you look at the usable range, which is 2500 to 7000 rpm, we have significantly higher engine torque, and this is what gives far better acceleration on road. Torque curve, the benefit is that in each gear you go through all the rpm. So almost in city riding we have seen that the vehicle goes through 2500 to 7000 rpm almost 80-85% of the time, and only when somebody goes to long distance on a highway or goes to the racetrack, you use the power beyond 8000 rpm. So tuning for 10,000 rpm is not useful for city customers. We have used fuel injection system which is from Bosch, and these are the engineering details of the injection system. This is a closed loop system which will meet the future emission regulations. There is a low friction coating from Kolben-Schmidt which is used in this piston. It is beyond the normal tin or graphite or D10 coating or moly coating. You can see the engine sound reduction due to improved cooling, because all the parts operate at proper designed clearances, and there is a significant reduction in the temperature which reduces the noise coming out from the sources. Exhaust system, we have designed the exhaust system for highest through flow. Actually the top muffler of this with the twin outlet is a through flow muffler, and the bottom piece gives the sound absorbing effect. And we have 2 catalysts used in this to distribute the pressure and get maximum flow. The muffler has been designed for sound quality, and it is a targeted sound that has been achieved with this muffler. The noise muffler noise diagram you can see here, and the transmission loss was targeted at particular frequency of 800 Hz. The stand-start acceleration compared to the competitors of 200 or even 220 cc vehicles, we have far better acceleration, and in 3 seconds the vehicle is faster by almost 4.6 kilometers per hour compared to the competing vehicles. We come to the vehicle handling and dynamics. The always question is whether city handling is more important or high speed stability is important, and there is a lot of compromise many times to be broken in this. So we have developed this vehicle further to get joy of riding under all operating conditions, and particularly because most of the time the usage is in city, we have taken up one level of improvement on city handling, yet getting a good high speed stability. And this has been achieved with many areas. First, starting from vehicle layout, very stiff chassis, sitting posture, precision tuned suspension, which is front very stiff 37 dia suspension and monoshock, and with Pirelli tires which are available on this vehicle. The precision tuned suspension, you can see here is the action of the suspension on rider rating for the feeling as after test in terms of comfort and handling both. The details of Pirelli tires for friction characteristics, friction ellipse, stability test, lane change test and slalom test. Under extreme conditions of banking, the tires are having a very strong bite. Here we have studied the aerodynamics for reducing the drag force, and the total drag force at 100 kilometers and beyond is substantially lower than most bikes, which are mentioned here. This is specifically designed for use on a racetrack. So when we showed this bike to our customers, there is a good feedback on colors, muffler, unique styling, very sporty tank design, stylish headlamp and aluminum die-cast handlebar. Very comfortable suspension. The exhaust sound is very powerful and racing bike. The engine is powerful. Digital speedometer has got certain messages and it is exciting for people who want to start racing on the track, and easy handling and maneuverability. Thank you very much.